Hey guys, it's me Tilly, and I'm here today with my very first LostArk guide featuring the Shadowhunter class. With that being said, I plan on doing videos on virtually everything that is part of the game, so if you enjoy the content, please consider hitting the subscribe button. So what is the video really about? I want to show you how over the span of 24 hours I turned myself from somebody whose gameplay looks like this, what you're seeing on screen right here is actually footage from my stream when I was leveling, to somebody who is now doing something like this. And yes, I might have grinded out the game for 24 hours right after release. Don't judge me, please. Before I start the guide, however, let me explain how I just started playing the game myself. I don't come with like a lot of background knowledge from Korea or Russia, and I went into the class pretty blind. So all of the stuff you see me talk about in this video is self-taught over the course of my very first 24 hours that I also streamed. So if you don't believe me, then just go back and watch the entire 24-hour VOD if you would want to. However, I think the outcome is like really respectable, and if you follow this guide, I think even you as a new player, or especially you as a new player, will have more fun than trying to figure it out yourself, and in the end game, once you unlock the full build, it will be just so much fun, trust me. With that being said, I will also do more in-depth guides once I acquire more knowledge, so again, if you want to see those as well, there is a red button down below the video, you know where to click. Okay, let's start with my leveling experience. Since I had no idea about anything, I spent most of my time early game trying to figure out what my class is all about, meaning that I swap between all of my skills and a lot of different combos to see what is fun using, or even more important, what is worth using. My ultimate goal was to be playing a demonic version of the Shadowhunter, which is when you try to spend as much time in your transformation as possible. However, this build requires some very important pieces to work, so before you get these, just forget about the idea of playing an exclusive demonic version of the Shadowhunter. Like, you will spend a lot of time in your human form, and that's just a fact. What should you do instead is like using the skills that I mentioned, or that I'm about to mention, since I think they bridge the time until level 50 pretty well. Also, one thing that I have to mention here for all of you new players, you can just spend skills anywhere that you want, really, and just hit the reset button whenever you want. It is free, it doesn't cost you anything. You could also, like, if your setup looks like something like this, save, and you don't want it anymore, you can just subtract points from individual skills whenever you want. It doesn't cost anything, so just make use of that while leveling and adjust your talent and skill points whenever you want. So my biggest mistake while leveling was using too many high cooldown skills, since I wanted to do the demonic version right away, so I went with all of the demon skills indicated by like this purple color scheme right here, but most of them just very high cooldown. It left me with like up to 15 seconds of downtime where all my skills were on cooldown, and I just had to kite and wait for the skills to come back up. So my very first suggestion for you is getting the slasher skill. It unlocks very early, and it is one that I would suggest you to at least get to tier 7. You could push it all the way to 10, just 10 is very expensive. You see how I already spent 20 points. Getting it to tier 10 would cost me even double of that and only unlock one additional effect. So usually early on, I'm a big fan of getting a bunch of tier 7 skills for the 2 additional effects. With that also being said, for you new players, you should aim for your... Wait, let me actually reset this. Oh no, let's leave it like that for an example. Aim for your skills to be at either tier 1, if you don't use them, tier 4, 7, or 10 for the additional effects, because 4 unlocks the first, 7 the second, and you get it, 10 the third additional skill. You don't want your skills to look like something like this, where they're at 3. Don't just level them for the little bit of damage they give you. Get it to 4, get the additional effect. Otherwise, just reset. We will get this to 7, as I said, for the second additional effect. With that being said, if your next goal is getting the slasher to tier 7 and you only have points for level 6, but you know your next level up you will get it to 7, feel free to have it at another level that is not 4, 7, 10, but just a rule of thumb. Get it to the next tier and then leave it there. I would suggest you to go with the AoE radius, since this will really help you to clear really any stragglers that your harder hitting skills, didn't clear out yet. And you don't have to wait for their like 20-second cooldown to come back up. And I would suggest you to go either with attack speed or with the crit rate. I'm mostly using it really as a filler, as like a combo to also transition into other skills. So I would probably like the attack speed, because only 20%. Don't forget that during leveling you probably have like 0 or like only 5% crit rate. So while 20 sounds really nice in a scenario where you later on have more crit, but if it's only 20, then even 20 crit rate is not that huge. So I like to go with attack speed, AoE radius, just to make it the most consistent I can do. And then you can see we just had a lot of fun here. We can spawn a scarecrow right here, and you see even over like a range that is something like this, you see how I will still be able to hit it. So the AoE radius really helps you, as I said, clear of any stragglers that survived. My next two suggestions are both, and let me actually go the no cooldown route. Both for mobility, you just have a dash that does get stopped by enemies, so it's more of an engager rather than a disengager if you are surrounded. And the second one here is the sharpened cut, which actually gets you through enemies, so also very useful as an escape if you ever find yourself surrounded. Let's start with the sharpened cut first, because the highest I think you should get it is to 4 to unlock the additional range. As you can see now, you just have a lot of, you can use it also as a gap close, as an engage tool, but as a disengager, the range is really huge. Get it to 4 at most, just for the utility if you want to use it. Different story with demonic slash. If you use it again during leveling, at least get it to 4, again also for the same reason, the move distance. But this is a skill where if you have leftover skill points, this skill for the utility, you might want to get it to 7, because afterwards you get a movement speed buff, which during leveling, let me tell you, covering distance is very, very PogChamp. Very later on, if all of your skills are already on the tiers that you want them to deal damage with, and you really have 28 skill points left, get Chain Charge. If I again swap off my instant cooldown, you can see how I'm able to actually use it twice in a row for like actually double the distance gain. Again, distance gain during leveling is just unmatched and really, really need to have. So if you have leftover points, this one at 10, very pog. Alright, let's get into the damage tools right here. Pretty much the one everyone and their moms use is the Cruel Cutter, even at like all the way to +10. As high as you can get it, really. I'll show it once right here. You've probably seen it if you've ever encountered a Shadow Hunter in the wild. It's the good old Draven ultimate. You just spin both of your swords and deal a lot of damage, really. What you want to do is, again, you could go with the movement speed to, after using it, get closer to the enemies, since you push them away a little bit. Or you could, if you end up finding yourself in a scenario where the enemies survive with like, I don't know, very few HP and you don't want to use another skill on it, you could go with the bleed damage. Both are okay. Second one, go with the ranged attack. The further they are, the more damage they deal, or it deals. And since you see how I even push them away, you will always make some use out of it. Later on, once you get 10, get the Boomerang. It's pretty straightforward, the name suggests it. It just comes back, dealing yet another round of damage. And this should really like one-shot mob groups, almost all the way until level 50. Another skill that I liked to use, which pretty much does the same, is the Demon Vision skill, where first you have to stand still, charge it, and then you let go and fire this big beam. I wouldn't suggest to use it like right away. This really wants you to use a lot of skill points on it. At first, at least you want to have it at 4, so it cuts the time you spend actually firing it after charging in half, so boom, and you're gone, free to move around again, doesn't lock you in place for all too long. But really, if you could get it all the way to 10, get crit rate right here by the way, and then on 10 it becomes a normal ability, not a charged anymore, so you can actually just click it, fire, and boom, you're free to go. It cuts the time you spend using the skill from like 4 seconds all the way to like boom, 1 second, free to go. And not locking yourself up in animations is going to become very, very important throughout playing LostArk. The last skill that, again, if you've seen a Shadow Hunter in the wild, you've seen them use their big demon body. It's a very good skill early on. It will pretty much one-shot everything, even without spending skills in it. I would suggest you to probably get it to 7. I think the tier 10s are, for pre-50 gameplay, not super important. And you should probably rather spend it on some other. I would even suggest you to probably get the Demonic Slash, your gap close ability to 10 first before the clone, but get the crit rate here, or the stun. The stun can actually work pretty well, again, just useless versus bosses. And then also make it normal mode as well, just like the beam. You fire it away, and then you can gap close already and start smashing. You're not locked into that long animation where you yourself have to do the hits. You can just really burst. Oh wait, let me do it like this, where I summon it, I can do the beam at the same time, and you just see how right there I used 2 skills when, if I didn't use any of the advancements, it would have taken me like 10 seconds to do. Okay, so now you have at least 5 really effective skills at hand. I said at least 5 because you don't have to use both gap closing abilities and mobility skills. But at least 5, maybe even 6 if you use both. So you have 2 more slots to fill. Just go with anything you like, really. I don't have more top. You have to use those skills suggestions for you. I would just like you to use at least 1, maybe even both, 2 more cooldown, low cooldown skills, just to avoid any possible downtime, because that's really breaking your neck the most in the early game when all of your skills are on cooldown and you have to go back doing your auto attacks, and your auto attacks, they just don't really deal damage. So you always want to have like some skill, even if it's just 10% of the mob, to finish them off. Goes way faster than auto attacking. Let's move on to the actual demonic build and what you need for it. There are 3 things, and I will go over them in order from most to least important. The most important thing is your class engraving, and yes, the thing everybody mentions and every new player is scared of, but do not worry, I will explain it for you and make it super easy. You see, before acquiring the class engraving Demonic Impulse, you will have a 30-second window after leaving your demonic form, during which you just cannot acquire additional meter, meaning that you are on a 30-second cooldown timer minimum, and the class engraving just removes that debuff, making you able to gain meter right away, which in return is like a flat 30-second cooldown reduction. How do you get that engraving? Well, first level until around level 35, but more importantly, just follow the main story until it drops you off right here after finishing a solo instance where you get to play as Armin. There will be a purple chain quest waiting for you. I think it was one of those 2 friends over here. It doesn't show for me anymore because I obviously already did it. Let me also show the map. If you have to go back and get it, it's really in the Terra Castle, and you then obviously just go and meet the king around here. And this purple chain quest, just finish it off all the way until the end, and this will already be 75% of what you need to unlock the engraving, since it will provide you with 15 uncommon books. Again, I will cover these in just a second. Alright, our next stop is in the very same area, Luther Castle. You just leave the palace and then you go over right here to the arena, which is the PvP area. Do not worry, you do not have to do any PvP yet. You just talk to this friend over here. He should have a quest for you. For me, it's obviously done since I did it. You will just have to click all of the trophies. It takes you not even a minute to do, gets you more of the books that you need, and you will be free to leave yet again. Again, here's the map. It's in the upper northern area of Luther Castle. Our last stop before we already unlock the Crass Engraving is this bard right here. Let me show you where to find him. It's like right above this tripod, right underneath the Chaos Dungeon. And she also has a quest for you that you can see. Be advised, this quest only pops up after already completing the arena quest. So after unlocking the chain quest accepted, head over to the PvP arena and then head down to the bard. You can do these right away, then do the chain quest, and you will find yourself with 20 of these chests. You right click them and like right on the top it should give you your class. The first one is Perfect Suppression, which is not what we're looking for. Be careful. Click the second Demonic Impulse, you open all 20 of them, and it will give you 20 of these tomes, Demonic Impulse. Once you did that, you will have these two slots in your avatar window. Press P, by the way, to open this. You click on it. Over here in the class bony section, you click on it, and this should look the same to you right here. This should be unlocked. You can drag it in once, and you have to drag it in twice. Since we are only using the uncommon version yet, we need to fill both slots with it. But this pretty much is everything you need to do for now. And this will make it so once you leave your demonic form, you can start building meter right away. And is just essential, otherwise the entire build just doesn't work. And really, please don't try building a demonic build without this engraving. You will just actually not have a lot of fun. Alright, the second thing you want to do in order to get the build going is using the correct skills. Not all of your skills build meter, and some of them even more than others. Here are your best meter fillers. First up, you have the demonic clone. Again, this is really what you should be building later on, once you can kind of afford to put the entire build together. Get demonic clone all the way to level 10, because we want enhanced release. If we hover it, it obviously states how the shadow burst meter gain is plus 100%, basically just doubling it, which is very cool. I'm currently using the normal mode, as I also said, for leveling. Just you don't want to miss this. Locking yourself in place in late game is just nah. I'm currently also going with the crit rate, even though I should really just go with the stun duration, to be honest, because the build is not at all about the human form, and having the additional CC should really be helpful in Chaos Dungeons. The second skill that I am using is the Demon's Grip. Right here, I'm using the cooldown. My human form is not meant to deal damage. It's just meant to get me into the transformation to the demon form as soon as possible. I want to spam them as much as possible. Cooldown reduction, and again, the second tier that will give me a shadow burst meter gain. Then one skill that I think is absolutely beautiful, it is the Howl. Get it all the way to 10, reduce its cooldown, get this shadow burst meter gain plus 100%, and for the last, the tier 3 edition, because what you can do with this is it doesn't only increase your party members, like your friends' damage, but also you're part of your party, so it's a damage boost for yourself. If you're fighting big, really tough enemies, pop this Howl on them right before you enter demonic transformation, and you just absolutely blast them. And also it fears, so it's another CC ability. If you are in your human form, you just want to CC them as much as possible, get your turn meter, so this skill absolutely beautiful for that. Next one is one that I already mentioned. I love this skill really much, so I'm really happy I get to use it. Again, get the quick firing, get the increased shadow burst meter gain, there we go, and the instant, so you don't have to charge it yourself. And like that, you already have 4 skills. If you use them all like right after one another, versus one target, trust me, it's, even there you saw it jump up like quite a bit. It's not crazy, but versus multiple enemies, you're just like pretty much instantly full. Then again, as I said early in the leveling guide, I don't have to go over them yet again, because I'm using for the same reason as I told you earlier. I'm using 2 mobility skills. Then I am using Decimate really for the single target damage. Like, it just slaps in Chaos Dungeons when I'm in human form, but there's like bigger challenge or named monster spawning. I have a chance of just one tapping them with Decimate. And right now I'm using still Rising Claw for even more just damage. Again, it is a purple demon skill, meaning that it will build meter for you, just not as much, but this was probably the one that I will exchange maybe even some time later on. Again, this build is not even 24 hours long. This so far was my best guess, but if you feel like putting anything else here, we'll probably do. And then the last thing you need to make this build work are the correct substats. This is only really manageable at level 50 once you get your tier 1 gear. That's why until then I would not recommend to fully run this build yet. But you want the specialization stat. Short, like just, I will throw this out right there. On as many accessories as you can get it, since it not only increases your meter gain, but it also extends the time that you are spending in your demon form while also increasing its damage. Now for a conclusion of this build, I would highly suggest you getting all pieces first before you fully commit, otherwise you might experience some downtimes and overall dissatisfaction. Once everything is put together, however, you just own Chaos Dungeons like it's your business. Guardian raids are still fun to do, though I would not call this the most optimal build, knowing that it can be a bit wonky against just one enemy. But then again, as I said, there will be more videos in the future, probably also one more so aimed at the Guardian raids. But if you have no idea at all about the game and you just want to do anything really, this build will still really help you clear the first few tiers of Guardian raids, no issue at all, while utilizing the demon form, which I think is just absurdly fun. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please consider dropping a like on it if you enjoyed it. If not, I will try even harder next time. But until then, have fun grinding, and I see you there. Bye!